Hey there you, and welcome to a gigantic army of orcs. We're about to smash headlong into this Imperial Guard formation. And what the Imperials lack in manpower, they're making up for with sheer firepower. With artillery, Lehman Russ battle tanks, space marines, and even some knightly paladins. Will the Imperials be able to hold out against the relentless Orky assaults? Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, there's only one way to find out. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, here we go, kicking off today's battle. I mean, just look at that gigantic orc army out there, heading straight for our defensive formation here in the Imperial Guard, a lovely little box formation. So we've got Kriegers on the outside here, defending the first lines, helped by artillery. Just behind them, we've got a bunch of foot knights here, heavy melee units from the feudal worlds here for the Imperials. God, look at that front line already, just opening up on the orcs. You can see the artillery scattering orcs into the distance there. That's absolutely fantastic. Now, we have also got some knightly paladins in the center, as well as a bunch of las guns, and also, of course, the ultramarines are holding down there. But firstly, let's go to our front lines and see what happens. The orcs have managed to close the gap here. Point blank artillery fire is now going to ensue. Oh, and it's absolutely glorious. The Kriegers here, though, putting up a stalwart resistance on that front line, not budging an inch. They're not scared of some pesky orcs. As the orcs get flung across our screen there, absolutely wonderful to watch. Now, this artillery is woefully exposed, unfortunately, for the Imperials, kind of by design, really, because the artillery is very overpowered against hordes like this. But they do have artillery on every single line. As you can see, there's more over here. So the orcs have definitely got their work cut out for them. Now the last fire is also extremely deadly in this scenario. Boxed in the center, they're going to be firing for the longest period of time. And a lot of them last rounds can kill the choppers almost instantly here. So the orcs have definitely got their work cut out for them, which is why they brought 4.5 million boys to the field here today. Now one thing they're going to have to watch out for is this. You see, the knights have now activated, charging at fourth, to meet the Orky horde head on. And this should hopefully slow the roll of the orcs a little bit. You can see the carving the way into the Kriegers just a little bit. Artillery is still scattering boys through the air. Now the orcs do have Daka and Mega Knobs, as well as just some normal knobs, all making their way to the front. So the orc army just literally gets harder and harder, and that's what she said, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, more orcs there getting scattered into the stratosphere. The artillery is actually surviving a little bit longer than I expected it to. I already thought this artillery on the front line would have been wiped out by now, especially with the orcs getting scattered into them like that. Oh, that's just really cool, though, watching all these knights charge into that front line. I love watching the boys get scattered by the artillery as well. Let's have a look. The knightly paladins might be making their way forward as well. They're going to try and get to that front line. I'll say this though, the Space Marines, the las guns, and all the tanks are set to hold so they don't move, as well as all the Kriegers on the outside. So we only have a few fluid units here for the Imperials today. So this is just literally a stand your ground defense. How long can they hold out? I don't actually think that, if I'm honest, I don't think they're going to survive the 4.3 million orcs. There's quite a lot of orcs. There's quite a lot of mega knobs in there as well as knobs. I mean, the shooters alone are going to provide a little bit of a headache for the Imperial defenders, because they've got to shoot their way through all of these reinforcements of the orcs to be able to get back at the shooters that the orcs are bringing. But you can see at the moment, this knight line, the foot knights here, doing an excellent job holding back that Orky aggression, allowing the Kriegers to lay on that firepower. Them halbor rifles blistering as they try to keep the orcs back. I can just imagine the happy little gas mask noises now every time a little bit of artillery goes set off next to them, and they just see orc bits scattered through the air. I imagine they all sound like Muppets. That's my headcanon. They all sound like members of the Muppets. Look at this, even the wider flank is actually being held really nicely at the moment. The countercharge actually pushing out of the box formation of the defensive line here. Pushing it, taking the fight to the Orcs. You can't outflank an enemy who's bringing the fight to you, can you? That's one good thing about this defensive position at the moment for the Imperials. It's really hard to be outflanked. They've pretty much got every angle covered. You can see that Knightly Paladin there. Made his way forward to that front line, providing that covering fire. Just the sheer thick wedge of Orcs on the front though. There's so many of them. The Kriegers are trying to hold. The footmen are trying to hold. But yeah, look, you can see a couple of Mega Knobs on the front line now. I would imagine they're just going to treat these foot soldiers as tin cans to be opened, like with tasty little beans inside. Them pneumatic claws should be absolutely no problem for some medieval armor. Well, it's not really medieval, it's feudal inspired, let's say. Because realistically, the feudal worlds of the Warhammer universe, they still have technology. Because they have like the power sword lances, and they still have power swords and stuff like that, so it's not like they've given up on technology, they've just got a heavy melee preference. Why have a tank when you can have 100 horses? You know, that's sort of the mentality. I also would imagine that a lot of the feudal worlds end up with having lots of artillery as well, because you're sort of going to need it. Look at this though, the Orcs are trying to blister their way through this corner point here. Not enough knights made their way to this section though. Again, these flanks are holding really wonderfully against this Orky assault. We've still got a decent wedge of knights in the center line, but we're definitely going to start getting a breakthrough here. There's no reinforcements really coming to back that up. I mean, we've got a couple of splatterings of knights behind it, but I mean, there's a lot of knights splattered on the front line right now as well. But, you know, the Orcs are pushing forward. The sheer aggression and weight of numbers carrying them forward. But again, Imperial's still got a strong defensive line here. Now, as the Orcs push over this lip, they are going to experience a world of hurt. The firepower is going to be way more significant over the defilade of bodies here that has been created on the field. Look at this dude, rocking it up front. Point blank shots from them. Now, these guys are absolutely devastating. They can take out vast swathes of Orcs. And they can also tank a lot, and I think that's actually what's going to happen now on this front line. The Orcs are going to push through, but they've been met by Knightly Paladins, which means that our Knightly Paladins are now going to act as sort of mega tanks on the front line. So we've got one here. We've got one over this side. Where's the third one? Okay, so the third one's still making his way to the front because we had 3 in total. But yeah, I think these are going to act as tank units now for this center line. Hopefully holding back and distracting at plenty of the Orcs here. God, look, this is weird. What the heck is happening here? It looks like the Orcs are just walking through the knights. I don't know. I think it's the dead ones. Look, I think that's what's actually happened. These guys who are falling down here or appear to be walking through, they're actually dead. They just don't know it yet. It's sort of a strange thing that's going on. Oh my God, the Knightly Paladin. He's getting swarmed, but the bodies are piling up in front of him. I wish they could use that chainsaw. It would be so cool. Can you imagine just how effective these things would be? Look at the Orcs swarming around him here now. That chainsaw, he'd just spin on the spot and that would be a... Again, knights on the flank though. Really holding quite well, and I think that's largely because they've only had to deal with choppers and storm boys. Don't get me wrong, a couple of knobs are now making their way to the front line, so I'm expecting this to start faltering pretty soon. Still got a good amount of firepower though. This box formation holding up really well. That concentrated last fire, peppering the front line constantly. The Orcs are breaking through, boys. The lads have come to party. Unfortunately, they forgot the cups, so they're going to need some Imperial skulls to drink from. Oh my, we've got some lovely little ghoulics starting to appear. Nothing too deep yet, though, unfortunately, on the field. I was kind of expecting that, though, with how flat and open this is. We'd have to make some serious body piles to be able to get that done. So we can see the Lehman Russes now trying to provide as much covering fire as they possibly can here. Just pelting shell after shell into the Orky lines. But it does look like the Orcs are slowly breaking through. Come on, Knightly Paladins, where are you? There's the third one over there, back there still. So we've got these two, which are holding this section of the front line. Look at that. Orcs all distracted, piling around the Knightly Paladins, which means that this part of the line's holding. Meanwhile, the Orcs are still pushing forward over this side, but they too are also about to meet a Knightly Paladin. And these guys are beefy as all heck. They can take so much punishment. I should expect, really. There we go, the larger flank now beginning to get engaged. The Kriegers opening up as the Orcs try to push more reinforcements around, which I'm more than happy about. You know, the more that the Orcs spread out the forces, the quicker they die, essentially. So, you know, it's not that much of a problem, I would say. Look at this, though. We've still got this pocket resistance going on of the Knights. Somehow still holding that front line against the Orky bombardment. So what we got now? 64,000 losses to almost 1 million. Yeah, okay, the Imperials have lost over half of their army, but the central line here, this is where the defences are. These last guns are nothing to be sniffed at, ladies and gentlemen. They can hold their own pretty effectively, as the Orcs are going to find out now. And charging in to a wall of laser death is not easy. Look at them, they're just getting absolutely cooked down in their thousands. The kill counter is skyrocketing. Oh my god. There's like 3,000 kills every second, maybe more. That's kind of insane when you think about it. 3,000 deaths a second. I mean, what was it? Stalingrad was 1 soldier every 7 seconds, was it? Or something like that. So yeah, put in 3,000 into that context. Stalingrad, 1 soldier every 7 seconds. Here on this battlefield, 3,000 every second. I love this as well. You can see where like the Knightly Paladins have walked out of the group. They just left these lovely little drawings here. It's almost like some abstract art that's been left on the battlefield. Kind of lovely. Let's go back down to the front line though, because yeah, the wider flanks now are being attacked here by the Orkies. But again, look at this. Extreme blast fire from the Cadian shock troops in the centre line, followed up by bolter rounds, is definitely having an effect on the Orky hordes. They're trying to smash their way through the tanks, and again, look at this, the Knightly Paladins, all 3 of them still standing here. How these 2 are still standing, I mean, he's just surrounded in bodies. Look at that. There's just corpses all around him. They're going to be piled up to his shoulder pads before he's done. This dude also sitting on a mound of corpses. Thousands of Orcs have died at the feet of these Knightly Paladins now. But it does look like the larger flanks are starting to close in on our Cadian shock troops here. Again, though, the Krieger lines are still holding for now, which means that we should still have artillery in the background here. Yes, we do. Awesome. Okay, it's getting taken out by some of the shooters. Yeah, look at that. That's the Orky shooters, that is. But we still have artillery functioning, which is good. We've still got a lot of tanks on the field, and of course, we've got all our Space Marines in the centre, who are also all tanky as heck. But I want to keep an eye on these guys, because I've got a feeling these are going to go down pretty soon. They've been taking a hell of a beating. I mean, what is it? At least 5 minutes of constantly being surrounded by Orcs taking a beating. That's going to do some damage to internal systems there. So yeah, but luckily that one in the centre line over here, sorry, the one that's further back, that's only just really started tanking the Orcs now, so he's still got a while go. But I wonder out of these 2 here, which one's going to falter first, because we are going to get a surge forward of Orcs when that happens, and that could be all the Orkies need here. At the moment, the Imperials are able to keep the Orcs at bay with their current amount of blast fire. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hit a little time-lapse camera here. I want to see which Imperial Knight goes down first, and we'll be back in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been about 5 minutes, maybe, well, closer to 8 actually, about 8 minutes, and these guys are still absolutely standing here. But I wanted to note something here that I've just noticed in the background. Look at this, the Orc army has actually been divided now. A lot of them are trying to make their way to the center over here, which means I think this group at the back might actually be able to mop up these Orky reinforcements coming in from the back, which would be quite good. because it looks like we're starting to split out the Ork army. Yeah, look at this. Not enough reinforcements are coming into this area. I think we've actually defeated the wider flank of the Orks, at least for now. There's still 2.3 million of them on the field, sorry. Oh my god, there we go. One of the Knightly Paladins has gone down. You saw that surge forward then, has it? No, it hasn't. So what was that then? There was just a massive surge forward of Orks then. Did a bunch of them get stuck or something? I wonder if some of them got stuck, because I just saw a load of them come running in then. God, how are these guys still going? They've even got all the Orky Daka around them, by the way, now. The Ork Daka is also shooting at the Knightly Paladins. And look at these corpse piles that they've made. The absolute mountains. Absolute insanity here. The Imperial Guard defense doing really well with its last remaining troops. I did say this centre nut here would be a tough one to crack, and the Orks are finding that out now. 2 million losses, and they still haven't really been able to even surround this guy yet. So they've still got a lot of work to do. Now, how the Kriegers getting on this side? Because with the last fire added into this, I would imagine that it can't go on for much longer for the Orks. They're gonna take an L on this, at least on the rear line, because look at this. There's a lot of Kriegers left over here. Mind you, there is still quite a few Orks. Though some of them keep breaking off to go to the centre, which is good news for our centre lines here. Jesus. Look, I'm gonna call these the tit hills. We've got 2 tits here. Oh, there we go. One fell. It has finally collapsed, ladies and gentlemen, which means the other one can't be far behind it now. Oh, they did so well at holding out. But yeah, we now know which one faltered first. This guy still going strong. I mean, just look at how many Orks they take out with each blast as well. It's ridiculous. They take out, like, what, at least 100, something like that. Maybe more. Jeez, man. But yeah, we're getting a big surge forward now. The Orks freed up from this centre mass to push forward. Though some of them, half of them are going to get distracted by this, so as long as this guy's still standing, I think the centre lines should be pretty much okay. How are the Kriegers getting on? Look at that, they are whittling down that Orky horde there, as well with the tank fire helping. That's excellent news here for the Kriegers. I think they can mop that up there. That's good. Which means that this isn't everything here. So what we got left? 1.9 million Orks still remain on the field, though. This is a tall order. The Orks trying the best they can to surround their enemy. But it's not just been enough yet. I think once this Knightly Paladin goes down, we might start seeing a little bit of a shift in the lines here. Again, the Orks not able to pump enough reinforcements into the flanks at the moment to attack the rear guard of Kriegers in a pronged assault. So they're just trying to grind their way through that front line. Let's go have a look at these body piles as well. Because look at this. This is where the last guns have really been going to town here. A lot of the Orks as well getting distracted, ending up going for the Knightly Paladin, only to be gunned down before they even get close to him. You can see we have taken a few losses on the Cadian line here. Which is, you know what? I'm amazed there's any foot knights left. Which is good. These will provide valuable seconds of distraction. As you can see over here, that's exactly what it's doing. Valuable seconds of distraction. Orks are going for him rather than for the shock troops, and that's good. Well, let's get this wider flank under control. Oh no, there's loads of reinforcements coming around. But they're not going for the Kriegers. The Kriegers are now safe on that back line. This Knightly Paladin still going for it. All of the Ork Dagger is pretty much around this guy now. Look at all them puffs of smoke. So how this guy's still functioning, I don't know, to be frank. He has been putting up such a good resistance here. I mean, the Orky body piles are a testament to his victory. They're not going down without a fight. And this box formation of last guns has been super effective as well. Combining that with the tank fire, as well as the bolter fire, it is a really hard defense to crack. Again, look, the Orks just not getting enough reinforcements into them flanks. They can't surround them. I do want to see what happens, though, when this Knightly Paladin goes down. Oh, it's gone! It's gone, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. A massive surge forward now. This might be it for the Orks. They might be able to push through. Now, with all of their forces being fully committed to that frontal assault, the Orks might start gaining some ground here. Yeah, you can already tell the difference. Oh, jeez. They've closed that gap rapidly. Again, though, they're taking stupendous losses doing this. There's only 1.6 million orcs remaining on the field. There was barely 100,000 defenders. And granted, they had stupendous amounts of firepower. I love looking at all them last rounds, though, just zipping through the air like that. And the orcs slowly dissolving as they get to the front lines. Looks like, yeah, look at this. Some Dakka's actually made its way around. I like this. He's taking cover behind the tank. Taking pop shots at the defense there. But you've got to hand it to the this inner sanctum of the defense. Look at this corpse ridge that they've built around them, which is honestly going to be working in their favor because it stops the Orc Dakka from shooting at them, and they're having to shoot uphill, which again, weirdly in this game is an actual advantage. You don't want to have the high ground in this game. You want the low ground, simply because when you're shooting at a mass like that, if they're coming down a hill, not a single shot is going to miss. Whereas if you're trying to shoot down towards the enemy, some of the shots can hit the floor and stuff like that because of how the AI works. So shooting upwards in this game is far more effective than shooting downwards. Look at this, though. Okay, finally the Orcs now bringing in them reinforcements, renewing the assault on the Krieger line. Oh god, they brought in just loads of Storm Boys. Just loads and loads of Storm Boys and Knobs. They're not messing around this time. They realised they were toying with the Kriegers before, so now they're like, no, we're going to do the job properly this time, lads. Bring in the boys. Here we go. The outflanking is starting to happen. Again, though, these Acadian stormtroops in the centre doing such a good job of holding back that enemy. Thank goodness we've still got tank fire support in here as well. But I don't know how much longer they can keep this up for. Is it going to be for the 1.3 mil? I'd be ecstatic if that was the case, because there is a little thing here. The Orcs are pouring in from the other side of the field, so their reinforcements can get scattered if the Imperial Guard keep up a decent enough kill ratio here. But man, I really am starting to get worried now. You can just see that they've almost been completely surrounded at this point. At least to some degree. It's this one little escape avenue at the back that they've got. But apart from that, the Orcs are holding pretty much dominion over the rest of the field. Have the Orcs committed it? I don't think the Orcs have committed enough to this again. I mean, we've got a lot of knobs coming in, don't get me wrong. These guys are deadly as well. They should pretty much insta-kill any Kriegsman they come into contact with. That's if they manage to hit them. The Kriegers can dodge and stuff like that. Yeah, look, the Orcs, again, just not committing enough to it. They're taking the Kriegers as a joke, and that's something you don't want to do. Now, I was on front line holding over here. Again, look, you can just see all the heavier units for the Orcs starting to move in now. There's a lot of knobs in this. Oh, and they've actually closed that front line down completely now. Yeah, because look, the Knightly Paladin has fallen, ladies and gentlemen. It's a sad testament. And I think that means now, at large, the Imperials are in a little bit of trouble. 14,000 against 1.1 million, sorry. Yeah, I think we're witnessing the final stand here of the Imperial Guard. They've done such a good job, though. I'm really surprised they managed to take out over 3 million of the Orcs, to be honest. I kind of thought the Orcs would have just romped all the way over them. But them Knightly Paladins really provided a decent distraction. And again, the Orcs just not taking the Kriegers on the back line seriously. Just sending these smaller groups after them. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're going to get overwhelmed at the very end here, but up until this point, it's been, yeah, the Orcs just haven't taken them seriously. I've got to say, though, the Orcs are still taking stupendous losses here. They're quickly going to get whittled down below 1 million at this rate. There is still a lot of last guns here, and we've still got knights here. How the heck have we even got foot knights left? There's actually quite a lot of them now, I'm looking at it. And of course the Space Marines also on the front line. They're going to slow down the enemy as well, because they are quite tanky units here. They're able to take a fair old beating. Not so much from the knobs, because the knobs have sort of got like what's it, them pneumatic claws, which are a little bit more specialized than being able to rip the limbs of an Astartes off. But yeah, okay, the numbers for the Imperials are dwindling rather rapidly here. They've put up a really good defense though. I'm so happy with this one. Look at them, look at the tit hills in the background. They look amazing. But yeah, this is the swan song. Have we got any more reinforcements coming in from that side? No, not yet. Okay, so it is pretty much going to be a Krieger last stand over here, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to hit a little time-lapse camera, and let's get our final kill counter. Look at that, the orcs have been taken below 1 million remaining. Oh, good old Cadians. We'll be back in a second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. They'll all say this. The orcs in that final assault there, taking out the last 10,000 Imperials, have lost almost 150,000 orcs doing so. I mean, that's kind of insane. They just seem to roll over the Space Marines in the center. The Space Marines didn't put up anywhere near as much of a resistance as I was hoping they would. It feels like the last guns actually did more than the Space Marines, strangely enough here. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, the last 300 of the Imperials on the field. The orcs did take 3/4 of their army and losses here. That's quite significant, but it just was not enough. And the Imperial box formation here falls for the day. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, all good things must come to an end. And as always, I do hope you had a blast. I know I did. Please do comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, peace.